All right, what's new?
You guys always seem to peak just the right time after the regular season, heading into Big East, NCAA. Just
Yeah.
what goes into that in terms of practices and making them more productive, or just how to make sure you guys are having the success at the right time?
Um, I think it's been, um, having, there's, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of emphasis, a lot of attention to the fact that we don't have a full roster. We're going into the tournament with only 6 players sometimes. It's going to be really, really hard. 3 games in 3 days. How are we going to handle it? Then we go there last year and we lose the league after halfway through the first game. How are we going to handle it? So there was always these tests and these challenges going into the tournament that were separate from the actual who we playing. And I think that maybe, put you on higher alert. You got to be more. So there was never a time where we went out there feeling like, yeah, we got this, no problem. There's always, we got to be really, really good. We have no margin for error. I think that contributes a lot to it. And so I hope we could still maintain that kind of sense of urgency. And I guess too, when, knock on wood, when you're used to winning, it kind of gives you some confidence going in that, how many teams have won the Big East tournament in our league? Us. And so, even when D was here, it was harder to win the tournament than win the national championship. Because sometimes, it just wasn't your night, Even when Stewie was here, same thing. So it's never a given. You still have to go out there and win it. So all you can do is go there with the right attitude, the right mindset.
How different does the energy feel this year, just kind of from the players having a mostly full roster to work with going into postseason?
Yeah. I would say the fact that, well, it's twofold, really. Players feel like they can go all out every possession, knowing that we can give them a breather when they need it, which is different than before, obviously. The second is they also feel they have to be very efficient when they're out there because, you're not going to be able to go 0 for 10. I think those two things, we can do more things defensively than we could. So that's helped. Because anytime you can play more aggressively, more full court stuff, that adds to all that. So hopefully we can keep doing that. That's been a big help, huge help, and we have more scorers than we had. And so that's giving everybody a lot of confidence. And it's taken some of the pressure off of, like Paige was saying at the end of last season, we get into the tournaments, I have to get 30 every night because that's what we need. And not that we don't need it now, but there isn't that same sense of urgency. So it's a confidence thing too.
Where do you feel like the team has grown the most just since that Tennessee loss?
Our team?
Yeah, heading into the postseason.
I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest thing you can grow in is making better decisions, understanding, there are crucial possessions in certain games that that you have to win those possessions. I think we know each other a little bit better, you know. Some of our players are moving better without the ball, which is really good. And I think, you know, when you shoot the ball really well, you look like a really, really good team. You know, when you're making a lot of shots, people don't see anything else. I mean, we see it internally, but so we're just a better team, better equipped to deal with what's coming next. I think after that game.
Ash kind of flew under the radar all year because of your big three. How happy were you for her to get the Sixth Man of the Year award?
I mean, obviously she deserved it, but nothing that she does is surprising. And you know, you've got a starter pretty much that's coming off the bench, and very few teams have that. You know, to me, that's the experience that she got last year. You know, how many kids in our league, you know, they're coming off the bench that played that many games, started that many games, and played in that many big games. You know, so she deserved it. You know, her and KK both were asked to kind of do the same things, but in a different role. And I'm glad that, you know, that Ash was rewarded for it. She deserved it.
How valuable is it to have a scorer like her to come off the bench? Because your big three aren't always going to be clicking every game.
No.
She adds that other.
No. That's why it sucks to not have a scorer coming off the bench. And we've experienced that as well. You know, when you think about it. When was the last year that we brought a kid off the bench that you know can count on to get buckets easily? I don't remember.
When Aubrey was healthy?
Yeah, obviously.
But, you know, even back then, you know, it wasn't going to come as easily sometimes as, you know, Aubrey wasn't going to get you 20 points in a quarter by making 5 straight threes or something like that. It was going to be a different way to get them. But our best teams ever are the teams that have people like Ash coming off the bench. Going back to Shea Ralph. You know, before a couple kids got hurt, Stewie coming off the bench, Maya Moore coming off the bench, Diana Taurasi coming off the bench. You know, Svetlana Brosimova coming off the bench. I mean, we're talking about legendary players. So when you can do that, Asia Jones, you gotta be kidding me, right? So when you've got that, you've got something nobody else has. And we haven't had that weapon here in a couple of years.
And she's not just a three-point shooter. Her mid-game is really strong.
Yeah. She's got a good mid-range game. I wish she would finish more I wish she would get to the rim more often. You know, so that's probably the next step for her. But yeah, she's, you know, and I lumped the two of them together when she and KK come in the game. They change the way the game's being played, and that's what you want. Like, you don't want somebody to come in off the bench and go, hey, listen, just go in there, hold down the fort until the starters come back. That doesn't do anything for you. They go in and the game changes. And whatever the other team was dealing with before those two guys come in, they have to deal with something completely different. And that's what coaches hope for.
How much has Ash's defense improved since last year?
The bar was very low, only because Ash works, she did last year too, so hard at the game, so competitive and so hard that she would get in her own way because she was trying so hard that it was counterproductive. You know, she was in a rush to get everywhere. I think we've got her in the passing lanes a little bit more, a little more wanting to. Let me get a tip. Let me get a steal. So that's been way better. Rebounding's been way better. So, you know, that's the natural growth that you hope from freshman year to sophomore year. That's funny because, you know, Ice is the same way. Like, Ice had some great moments last year, but, you know, the times that she's been available this year, for the most part, her defense has gotten really, really, really good. You know, that's what you want. You want people to make those kind of progressions from year to year.
Do you think last year's tournament can let her go into the postseason this year feeling really good about herself? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she looks really good right now. But, you know, you just hope that you can sustain it. To me, like, that's the biggest challenge today in coaching. People say, you know, how come people don't go on these long winning streaks, or players go on these long runs? It's just hard to sustain. And if you can find that ability to sustain it, you got a huge edge over everybody else. And that's what's made, you think about Sarah, that's what's made Sarah, you know, who she is. I mean, it's been like this. There has been no that in her game, right? So that's what you want, you know? I know our players are good, you know, and I want them to be consistently good. And if we can get that from Ice and Sarah, you know, that's what you want. You don't want to have to take players out because they're not doing the things that they need to be doing to help you. You want to take them out because they need a breather, and then they're going to get right back in. So right now, Ice is in a good place.
Is that physical or mental? The ability to just
It's all mental.
not drop.
It's all mental. It's all mental. That's why it's so hard for people to be so consistent today. Because, like, you know, Yogi said 90% of this game is half mental.
Can Ice have an offensive impact, or you just hope that she gives you that
Well,
defense?
you know, it depends. I shot 2 shots since she's been back, and both of them look like I can't wait to shoot them, and they both look like they're going in. Whereas she spent a month and a half going, I don't want to shoot this, and when I do shoot it, I know it ain't going in. So, you know, I know she had a bad shoulder, but I don't think when they were doing rehab on her shoulder, they put a magic chip in there that makes her shoot better. It's just all of a sudden mentally, you just think it's going in. So I'm telling you, the whole thing, you know, postseason play, tournament, a Big East tournament, conference tournament, NCAA tournament, whatever, it's got nothing to do with how good you are physically. You ain't changing. Whatever you've been pretty much up to this point, that's who you are. Like, that's not changing one iota. Mentally, you can change a lot. You can get worse because you're affected by the pressure and you can't handle it. And then you change as a player because you start to put, you know, a different emphasis on the games. Or you get better because you understand the pressure, you've prepared for it, and you're so confident that, you know, you play your best basketball in the postseason. Because you look at and you go, from November to now, man, I've worked really, really hard. So this is my reward. But you're not getting any better physically. Nope. Whatever your warts were going in, you still have those. Whatever your strengths were going in, you still have those. And the teams that can mentally gear themselves up and stay in that consistent zone. And that's all mental. That's all it is.
Kind of on that, Paige has played her best basketball in March most of her career. I mean, just what is it that you feel like she kind of unlocks this time of year?
Yeah. I think with players like that, with players like Paige, they, again, I kept, with Paige, I keep using the word delusional because every single time she's on the floor, she thinks I'm like one step away from playing the perfect game. And when you get to the playoffs, that doesn't change one bit. And if you're thinking like that, and the other guys you're playing against are not, now it just, during the regular season, if you're thinking like that and they're thinking like that, you're a little bit better than they are. All of a sudden you get into the tournament and you're thinking like that and they drop because they're not quite sure. That used to happen back in the day when we played. We'd get into the tournament and our guys would take one look. Their guys would take one look at our guys and they could tell we ain't winning today. And all of a sudden they play less than they are. So Paige, she takes whatever she has during the regular season and brings it to the postseason. And I just think that's a rare trait to have. But who were we talking recently about? I'll give you an example. Paige happened to be sitting there, and we were talking about Jenna, and Jenna was there, and I said, if you could be like automatic, like if we throw it to you and we know automatically when you catch it, like in the arc right here, you're going to get a bucket. We would throw it to you all the time. And Jenna goes, no, you would still yell at me. You would still be mad at me, even if I said, why would I? Why would I be mad at somebody that's automatic? Paige goes, you yell at me and I'm automatic. I said, at what? She goes, everything. See, so when you talk like that, and maybe you believe that, that's an issue, but it helps you in the playoffs. It helps you in the playoffs. I'm automatic at what? Everything. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Seems like people have wanted to analyze or define her legacy, even going back to when she was like an underclassman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Player of the Year, face of NIL, and then it became like, well, is she going to win a title though?
Yeah.
So, how much do you think about like to what degree winning a title would change how she's able to look back on her years in this program? Is it unfair to, considering all she's accomplished, all she's overcome? There's a lot packed into her college basketball experience.
Yeah, there is. There is. But basketball is a funny game, and so much goes into winning. The game is so much out of your control that all the factors and all the forces have to come together. The right team, right? The right environment, the right circumstances. We've had teams that maybe could have won it and didn't, and we've had teams that no one thought we could win it and won it. And it generally doesn't always just come down to that one player. So if you go through a career and you have the kind of career that Paige has had, and it ends with a national championship, that's kind of a storybook way to end your career, But I think 3, 4, 5 years from now, that's Caitlin Clark's legacy suffered because she didn't win the national championship. I don't think so. Would everyone like for it to end that way or have that somewhere in between? Of course. But there's so many factors that go into it. And none of it's going to diminish anything that's been done here. Think about it. Fisa and Lou were both freshmen when we won a national championship. Lou didn't even play in the national championship game because she broke her foot. Fisa maybe averaged like 6 points a game, 7 points a game. So you can't even say, well, Fisa was a national champion at UConn. Well, when she was a sophomore, junior, senior, and she needed to be, she wasn't. But that doesn't take away from she's probably one of the top 5 players in the world. And her legacy at UConn is beyond reproach. So you just have to be in the right circumstance, the right time, and you can't control that. Can't control that. Yeah, no, can't control that.
How's she, do you feel like she's really comfortable heading into this month, anxious? I mean, she seems to be really good at just next practice, next
Yeah.
day, you know, like I don't know, away from us,
Yeah.
how much she considers the big picture and that type of stuff, but she seems to handle it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, she says all the right things, you know, answers all the questions the right way, you know. My favorite is when, you know, I'm just humbled to be under a dictionary, Paige Becker's humble. No. You know, so who really knows what is actually going on in there, you know? Because I've seen with players like Paige, there's this unbelievable desire to win. I'm the best player, which you need to think that way. I can lead this team, which you need to think that way. There isn't anything I'm not prepared for. You need to think that way. And then I'm scared shitless that I won't be who I am, but I'm not going to let anybody know that. I'm not going to let that come out. That's going to be buried deep inside me somewhere, but it's there for all of them. Every one of those guys I've ever coached. So the trick is how do you manage that? How do you not let the fear of what if I'm not get in the way? And that is the special sauce that the great ones have. You know, it's not that they don't have it. They all have it. Come on, you got to have it. I mean, I think we played, well, we played in 12 national championship games, and I bet you there was maybe 3, 4, 5 that I thought for sure we can't lose today. And then there was like 5 where I thought, there's no way we're going to win today. But you can't let it come out. You have to hide it, and you can't let your players know that. And I think all the great ones can do that. So, and I think when you hide it and bury it, what comes out inspires your teammates. They don't have to know that you're going to go home and throw up because you're scared to death. They don't have to know that. You know, they don't have to see their coach, you know, turning white. No, they need to see that, hey, my leader is in charge. We got this. So I think Paige does a really, really good job of that. I think she needs to, this year, especially now, when it's your last time, now you really have to take on that, you know, that leadership quality that, you know, that all the great ones had. And, you know, dictator type. Like, this is what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to get done. Period. So, I'm excited to see it. I'm anxious to see it. But that's a long ways away, you know. First things first, this weekend. I hope we win the Big East Championship. I hope we're playing Monday night. I hope we win. And I hope somebody other than Paige, if we do win, is MVP of the tournament. That would mean we are going to be really, really hard to beat in the NCAA tournament. Or if we're going to lose Monday, if we get to Monday, I just as soon lose tomorrow and get some rest and get it over with. So I either want to lose tomorrow or I want to win the whole thing. Nothing in between. There you have it.